Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Morrison, Cook County Commissioner for the 15th District here in the Northwest Suburbs. I want to thank everyone for joining us live, and for those of you who may be watching this recording. Today, we are going to have an important conversation about youth housing instability. Too many youth are in unstable housing situations in the Northwest Suburbs and surrounding areas. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, 50% are unsheltered, sleeping outside, in a car, or other accommodation that is not suitable for habitability. The winter in our area can be very harsh, especially this time of year when temperatures can be sub-zero. Many factors can contribute to youth facing housing instability. Youth who identify as LGBTQ, pregnant and parenting youth, youth with special needs or disabilities, and youth of color, particularly African American and Native American youth, are also more likely to become homeless. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, youth and young adults need stable housing, supporting connections to caring adults, and access to mainstream services that will place them on a path to long-term success. I believe the Youth Homelessness Demonstration Program is aiming to do just that. During our time together, you'll have an opportunity to ask our guests questions. Just submit those questions in the comments. And without further ado, I want to get this conversation going. We have a lot of incredible guests with us today. We have Sonia, Ivy, Michael, and Sarah with Northwest Compass. And we also have, I apologize, lost my spot. Oh, geez. Wait, I apologize. We're going to start off with our guest from Northwest Compass. And Sonia, I would like you to kick it off if you don't mind.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for having us. It's very exciting for us to share with the community about our programs and what we do. And I have my incredible staff with me that it's I will tell you probably more than you want to even know about youth homelessness. I'm really grateful for the introduction that you made about the youth homelessness and the problems that exist. Even though we live in a very affluential community, it's unfortunately, there is a lot of youth that are simply invisible, but they're really struggling with housing insecurity, and most of them are in crisis. We started providing services to youth in crisis a couple of years ago, and we established our program we piloted as HYPE, Helping Youth on a Path to Empowerment, just because we saw that the need is greater than everybody even thought that it's possible. And there were so many youth, especially 18 to 24, that needed some assistance, and they didn't have any place to turn. We try to provide a stabilization, empowerment, and housing services for them, and we basically try to help them navigate through life challenges and crisis. A couple of years ago, we had an opportunity as a group to be part of a 100-day challenge to end youth homelessness. And I will let my staff that participated in this challenge talk a little bit more about it. But that challenge really opened the eyes of everyone in the community, and based on that a challenge that we participated in, we were one of the 5 community in the entire United States that was offered to apply for this Youth Demonstration Housing Project grant. And then because of our accomplishment through the challenge and our application for the grant, we were selected to receive some funding for housing. And I'm extremely excited about partnering with Kenneth Young Center as our sub-grantee, because it's they are one of the leaders in a community for mental health and providing services to LGBTQ community. And it's having this partnership really, really widens our outreach, and we're able to support so many of the future. Youth are our future, and it's helping them get successful. It's what we are trying to do each and every day. And I'll turn now to Sarah and Ivy, Sarah and Michael, I'm so sorry, to talk about the 100-day challenge and share their experience and expertise.
All right, so I'm just going to share our screen real quick.
Is it working?
It looks like you're having some volume issues on your end.
Are you guys able to see it?
Yeah, but you don't have this open in two different locations, because you're having an echo on your side.
Turn the volume all the way down. Sorry, guys.
Not a problem at all.
Is that better?
Yes, much better.
All right, let me try this one more time. Is that better? Can you guys see?
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So I will let Mike begin just kind of going over some stats and info on youth homelessness as a whole and like some subpopulations and stuff like that.
There are many factors that contribute to youth homelessness, and here are some of the subpopulations. LGBTQIA, parenting and pregnant, youth with mental illness, youth involved in the criminal justice system, youth aging out of the foster care system, and youth experiencing domestic violence. Based on a single night study, 44% of unsheltered youth identify as LGBTQ, and 34% reported physical, mental, or sexual abuse as a reason for homelessness. Sorry. Many exiting the foster care system left to figure it out on their own when they turn 18. And the next screen is illustrating some of the reasons and situations for youth homelessness. Many youth are at a higher risk of trading sex for treating workers' sex for a place to stay or other resources that they need. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
So youth housing instability looks a little different for like each case, I guess. So some folks experiencing housing instability will see that they're unsheltered or on the street. They can be couch surfing, which is staying with various friends or family, really, wherever they can get like a one-night stay, taking it one day at a time. Some folks sleep in their car. Others may have been kicked out due to conflict with their family or abuse at home. And then others may be fleeing domestic violence and they had to leave their home and are left with nowhere else to go. Okay, so how do these clients access our services? So as members of the Alliance to End Homelessness, we use an entry point system, which is designed to effectively streamline clients to the appropriate services. So we use a call center that will then refer clients out to the appropriate agency or individual that may be able to help them. And then we also have designated walk-in centers throughout suburban Cook County that clients can, show up at their doorstep if they're experiencing some sort of crisis and then receive services. And Northwest Compass is the lead walk-in center for the Northwest region of Cook County. Other clients may access services through outreach. So this looks a little different as well. We have outreach workers that actually go canvass the community based on hotspots that have been identified, like knowing where youth may spend a lot of time, like the library, bus stops, under a bridge. There can be a lot of other places. And then we can also do outreach with other community members. Like if someone contacts our agency saying, I've seen this person hanging out outside. I think they're homeless. They might need help. If that person has a relationship with the individual that they think may be homeless, we can kind of make a connection with the potential client that way. Like, do you want to talk to them? Maybe make them aware of the services that may be available to them, and then they can seek services that way. Or we can have an outreach worker go make contact with that person as well. And then we'll also see receiving referrals for clients. So that can be through other agencies in our network or like school social workers, law enforcement officials, and other agencies that we've established connections with. And then once we have a client who is experiencing some sort of housing instability, the first step is really to do like a needs assessment. And if you can see on the bottom here, the most important first step is making sure that their physiological needs are met. So do they have food, water, somewhere to stay, somewhere safe to sleep, stuff like that. Yeah, and that fits in with security needs as well. So meeting those basic needs is the very first step. And then we can get into some of those higher tiers like past relationships, current relationships with friends, feelings of accomplishment. And obviously this is a process, but we have to know that there's somewhere to start, and that's with meeting their basic needs. So as system navigators like Michael and myself, our role is really to work with youth in connecting them to more safe and permanent housing. So not every youth that we come in contact with will end up in the homeless service system. So one of our goals is to navigate possibilities that these youth may have other than entering the system. Do they have a family member they could stay with? They're just afraid to ask. Can they move in with a friend? They just don't know how to go about it. So working with them to navigate those possibilities. And then if that's not an option, we'll get them enrolled in some of our services, and then they'll be able to be placed in more stable housing. So we'll provide mobile case management, meeting the clients wherever they're at, one-on-one community resource navigation, so helping them figure out what we can do like at this time to help you feel supported and like you're able to take care of the things that you need to take care of. And then creating goal plans. So do you want to, are you in school? Do you want to get a job? Are you currently working? Even goals that could have to do with like family relationships and stuff like that. And then after the clients work with a system navigator, they will be transitioned to case management. So this is when they're actually placed in stable housing. So the system navigator will assist in connecting the client to the case manager, like setting up an initial meeting, explaining to them what happens from here on out. So it's really important that we do like a warm, friendly handoff and the client feels supported all the way through the process. And then the system navigator will also continue following up with the youth after 60 days of being placed in the program, just to stay in contact and again, make sure that they feel supported. And then I'll pass this on to Ivy to explain a little bit about what she does.
We apologize.
I don't think I can. Can you turn it down, please? Is this better? A little bit.
There we go. Much better.
Our computer's so close. That's fine. Yeah, so for case management purposes, I think it's really important to understand and try to really put yourself in the position of these youth. And so it's important to have these concepts in mind that the youth, when they come into our program, it's not because their life has been, wonderful and great. So a lot of the youth, their background is something to keep in mind, and as well as the trauma that they experience during acute or chronic homelessness. A lot of times people develop survival mechanisms, like Michael said, like doing sex work for money or for a place to stay, or even engaging in the use of drugs, stuff like that. So it's really important to understand power and privilege and how that comes into play when it comes to working with the youth. Because even though we want to help the youth and, we have this wonderful program and this wonderful structure, a lot of times at the end of the day, we're still strangers to them. And so saying like, these are all these wonderful resources that we can have, if we don't keep that in mind, the relationship between the youth and the case manager isn't always perfect. So we have to keep in mind the trauma that they experienced, either through childhood of maybe neglect or abuse or, being unsupported. We've had participants who identify as part of the LGBTQ community who felt like their families didn't support them. And so they've run away, and then, and so stuff like that, where we have to be mindful of the trauma that they experience and know that there's a reason why they're in our program. And oftentimes it's not always because their life was perfect beforehand. So knowing that and understanding that perspective, some of the case management approaches that we use are client-centered, meaning the case management that we do, obviously we have an opinion of what is something that they can do, but at the end of the day, the client, the youth have to be the ones that are like, no, I want to do this. I want to go back to school and this is what I want to study. Or actually, I don't want to go to school. I want to do employment and I want to get career services, stuff like that, where it's really they have the agency and we're just guiding them along the process. Same with strength-based approach. If they don't have good communication skills, but they're really good analytically, really honing in on those skills that they have in order to make them kind of be more self-sufficient and independent. Unconditional positive regard, just youth sometimes, this process isn't always linear. It doesn't always go, from point A to point B. Sometimes we have to backtrack, and sometimes, the plan that we did doesn't always work. So we just have to unconditionally support them and understand that, due to trauma, they might have backtracked for some reason, which leads to trauma-informed care, understanding that, experiencing acute and chronic homelessness affects your brain and your brain development and also the relationships that you seek. So just keeping that in mind when it comes to case management, as well as motivational interviewing, understanding that, we're really there to help them, motivate them, and they can do it. We just, they just need a little bit of guidance. Can we go in a second? Okay, so in terms of case management, what we really do is after site navigation, we do case assessment of needs. So what do they need and also what do they want? Are their health and safety being met? Do they need to be connected to a health clinic? Do they need to be connected to public benefits like Medicare, Medicaid, or access to care, something where they can get their physical and mental health needs? Education, did they finish their high school degree? Do they want to get their GED? Do they want to get higher education? Can we connect them to those resources so they can, make those steps? As well as income and career resources. What kind of job do they want to have in the future? Yes, income within the program is important, but also we want them to make the adequate steps. So life after the program, they don't just have a job, they have a career. Engaging in life skills. Even though they're 18 to 24-year-olds, some of the youth in the program don't know how to cook. They haven't had their driver's license before. So just making sure that we're assessing the life skills that they have in order to, help them be more independent and self-sufficient. And also community connections, do they need to be a part of, some religious affiliations that they like, but they feel like they weren't able to before, or do they, some sort of recreational center? This one's a little harder in the life of COVID. A lot of things are still shut down, during social distancing. So that one is still difficult. But we're hoping that, life after COVID or before then, we can really connect them to the community and just help them feel like they belong, which is something that they've missed for a while. And then the last slide, continuing with case management, service plan, following up, make sure that the goals that we set up are being met, and also evaluating and reevaluating. Do these goals make sense? Do we want to change the goals? Do we realize that, they're not feasible and we got to do a little more work before we can get there? And then also, life after the program, meaning depending on what program people are, they could be here for 2 years or more or less. So just transitioning to help them be independent and self-sufficient, making sure that they have the proper skills to, live without the program, basically. Do they have enough savings? Do they have enough, adequate skills that, if we were to transition out, can they make it? And so we usually do like 6 months before they leave the program, really honing in on everything. So when the transition happens, it is pretty seamless. So that's about case management in terms of what we do. And I'm sure Kenneth Young has definitely more insight and perspective on how that happens. So.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Ivy, and thank you to everyone at Northwest Compass for joining us. Again, to all of our listeners joining us live, if you have any questions, after we finish introductions, we'll be taking questions and doing some discussion. So please place your questions in the comments, and we'll be happy to address them. First up, I'm going to start with Ardell, who's a case manager with Kenneth Young Center. Ardell, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Commissioner. My name is Ardell Christian. I am the Transitional Housing and Rapid Rehousing Case Manager here at Kenneth Young Center. We collaborate and work with Northwest Compass. I believe Ivy hit the nail on the head with pretty much the entire job description. Just to piggyback a little bit off of that, just more on a case management role and what we actually do working directly with youth. I'd just like to say that a goal without a plan is just a wish. And in the work that we do, we help the youth reach their goals by guiding them and navigating them to where it is that they want to be. But the start of that is housing stability and being able to meet a person's need. You can't expect a person to excel without having a proper place to sleep, proper meals, just basic things that every human being needs. So that's a little bit about myself, a little bit about what I do, and I'll pass it off to Mary.
Thank you so much, Ardell. And Marianne, a manager of Positive Youth Development at Kenneth Young Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you. Again, thank you, Northwest Compass, for that amazing slideshow, because I think that really gave a good overview of the program. Kenneth Young Center is a sub-grantee of Northwest Compass, so we work very closely with them on this grant. We have been helping youth who are experiencing homelessness or housing instability since about October of 2019. So it's kind of a new realm for us at Kenneth Young Center, but we're excited to be able to be part of this and help this community. I think one thing that Kenneth Young Center can offer that's a little unique in the housing instability world is we also have the LGBTQ plus center at Kenneth Young Center at our Algonquin Road office. So we have some folks on staff who are really equipped to help that LGBTQ plus population, which of course, as you heard the statistics, is a large part of the youth experiencing homelessness population. So I look forward to getting into some of your questions.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm glad that you highlighted the LGBTQ Center with Kenneth Young. I was there for their grand opening. It is a fantastic location, and all the individuals working there and who are part of their programs are just so inspirational. And so I very, very, very happy to see that we have those types of programs out here in the Northwest suburbs. Now, I would like to move on to some questions. We did have a few submitted. I'm going to start with one that was submitted before we started today. This was from Julie. It was sent in through Facebook, and it was, can you give a few ideas of how we can help? Is it for fostering youth? Who would like to try to answer that question?
Yeah, I would say if folks have the ability to donate goods, like, so we see youth that transition from homelessness, they enter the housing project and they don't have anything. They've been living out of a backpack. They don't have the things they need to start their own little home and make it a home. So stuff like pots and pans, like kitchenware, a move-in kit maybe with like towels, some hygiene products like body wash, bedding, shampoo, yeah, shower curtains, bedding, stuff along those lines will be really helpful. Or if there's anybody listening that owns a business or has the ability to connect youth to job opportunities, even if it's part-time or temporary, job searching is a huge thing that we do, and definitely a resource that we would love to have more connections and expand on.
I appreciate that. Anything else want to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that with donations are always accepted. I know that at Kenneth Young Center, we are really trying to build up a food pantry and also like a clothing pantry. We also are in need all the time of paper goods, paper towels, toilet paper, tissues, cleaning supplies, all these things that you would need in your own home. But again, these youth are coming in with a backpack, so they don't have any of that. And we do provide the housing and do our best to provide for all of their basic needs, but donations always help. So you can contact any of us about those things. And then again, I really love that Sarah brought up jobs. Job searching is sometimes a struggle for some of our clients. And so if there are, organizations, companies, businesses out there that really would like to be some good mentors for these youth, I think that would be huge. I think those are the basics really for us. If you have, if anybody listening has other ideas of how you want to partner with us, or, if you have opportunities that you know of that we should be taking advantage of course, we're open to anything.
No, that is spot on, Marianne. Thank you so much for adding that. And, for all of our listeners, if you are interested in helping deal with our instably housed population out here and helping change that reality, please reach out to Kenneth Young. Please reach out to Northwest Compass. We're sharing lots of links of how you can communicate with our great panelists today in the comments. So please reach out and find ways to get involved and help make a difference. We have Monica from Elk Grove Village with Friends on the Streets Elk Grove. She has a question. What are the resources for youth homelessness in the Northwest suburbs to find a shelter during the extreme cold weather? So, in other words, what is the best way to help youth who are experiencing unstable housing to find shelter at this time here in the Northwest suburbs? Who would like to start off with that question? Oh, Sonia, we can't hear you. You might need to speak a little bit louder.
There is only one organization that provides shelter, and since March last year, it's like they stop accepting new clients, but very few, which means that it's like there is no really a shelter that somebody can go at night in a lot of the cases.
Sonia, we really can't hear you, unfortunately. We're having trouble hearing you, Sonia.
All right, can you guys hear us now?
We can hear you perfectly, Sonia.
Okay. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, so Sonia was trying to say shelter access has been really limited since the pandemic started. The capacity for clients to access available shelter decreased like at an amazing, not an amazing, but dramatically decreased. And we've had to kind of figure out how we can fill that gap. And in some cases it was providing like hotel or motel stays for a client for one night to get them off the street or out of their car, especially in these colder months. So unfortunately, there's really no magic answer for this shelter stay question right now because we're still living in this COVID environment. So just, accessing whatever resources are available to get someone off the street that night is what we do. So we just take it one day at a time, really.
Perfect. And I know that early on in the crisis, there were programs implemented to help find, be it hotel rooms to help deal with sheltering. Are those resources still being made available? Are government partners still partnering to help make that happen?
In some ways, yes. So the way that it kind of worked was that clients that already belonged to a shelter were moved into a hotel, but that limited new clients from accessing the shelter and having a place to stay. So the funding is out there, but it's limited and hard to access. And yeah, it's not something that all agencies and providers have access to.
Fantastic. No, I appreciate that. And since we have you live right now, Michael and Sarah, one questions I had was, since you've started working as system navigators, have you had to adjust the intake process? Is there a need that wasn't known before?
I would say yes, a little bit. Again, going back to this COVID environment, when the program was like designed and mapped out, we weren't living in a pandemic. So having to adjust the processes to fit the needs of people that may be immunocompromised, not able to come out, or, like meeting in public places for homeless folks used to be a norm, like going to the library to talk to them, complete some assessments that need to get done. That wasn't really an option anymore because libraries were closed for a while, public places weren't allowing indoor seating and stuff like that. So being flexible with our contact with clients and just working with them, meeting them where they're at. And yeah, we actually never closed here at Northwest Compass when the pandemic started, because we knew that there was a need that we had to be available. We have a food pantry that people visit very, very frequently, and not having that in their lives would make a huge dramatic difference. So just being as accessible as possible for these clients, definitely.
No, I appreciate that. We did get another question in from Monica. What about clients who are new to the streets that do not have a caseworker? How do they find a shelter, especially when, like over this weekend, we'll have days below zero? Marianne?
Again, I just want to, unfortunately, it's really a difficult thing right now. Not that it's right that you can't find a shelter, but it's really hard. I would say your best bet is to get them to a system navigator like Northwest Compass and get them in that system as quickly as possible. Probably isn't guaranteeing them someplace to sleep that night, but it will get them closer. I think the pandemic is really posing some challenges. I think it's really good that we've moved here in Cook County back into phase 4. So libraries are open. So during the day, clients, or people who are new to the streets, like Monica said, they can go to the library during the day. Obviously that doesn't help them at night. So I would say that the best thing is really to get them to those system navigators as quickly as possible and get them in the system.
Thank you, Marianne. And while we have you live, I wanted to pose a question. I know that the program at Kenneth Young is relatively new. Oh wait, sorry, that was for Ivy and Ardell. But okay, well, regardless. In what way is the Youth Housing Demonstration Program different than what Kenneth Young Center has done in the past?
So I'm glad you asked that, actually. Kenneth Young Center has 2 different programs for youth experiencing homelessness. So this youth demonstration housing project is one of them. It's our second one. Our first one was, it's also grant-based, and we still have that program as well. The YHDP program, the Youth Homeless Demonstration Project, really allowed us to hire Ardell as a case manager. So that was huge because, obviously that's a big need to have a case manager. It also gives us a broader network of resources, being able to work with Northwest Compass and the Alliance to End Homelessness in Suburban Cook County, really introduced us to some more resources that are available in the area.
Amazing, thank you. Sorry, I got cut up before because the next question was for Ardell and Ivy, and I'm like, wait, but they're from different organizations. But it's fine. So I'm going to move over to Ardell and then to Ivy. As case managers for a fairly new program, has there been more or less cases than expected? And Ardell, if you would like to kick that off.
Yes. Well, I would definitely say due to the pandemic, the expectation definitely for me was to have more cases. Just reiterating some of those statistics, LGBTQ plus youth represent 40% of the homeless youth population. And that's even without COVID. That's just general statistics for just everyday living, whether it's due to family rejection, discriminations, or any other factors. So we have actually we've been receiving a high level of cases. Currently, I think in our YADA program, we only have maybe one more spot on the Kenneth Young Center side, and which is great, because people are actually able to get help and get the services that they need. But I would say just definitely in conjunction with food pantries and shelters, programs like these are definitely receiving a whole lot of strain right now. Our services are being used to the max, but that is absolutely the goal. That's great.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And Ivy, how has your experience been?
Yeah, I definitely think that, can you hear me a little bit? Okay, can you guys hear me? I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can. We can.
Oh, okay, thank you. Because our mic was weird, but okay. Yeah, I think that we knew that it was going to be a high need because obviously with all the statistics, we knew that a lot of our caseload was going to be high. However, we didn't anticipate the global pandemic to occur as long as it has. And I think with that, a lot of some of the avenues that other youths have used, like, staying in the libraries and in public places and also couch surfing, they're just not able to access them as they used to be, because a lot of times people are afraid of, having others stay at their house because due to exposure and everything. So I think because of that, it definitely has increased our numbers and has caused more of a spotlight on the people that are experiencing homelessness to come out of the shadows, because they can't really rely on the regular networks that they did before. So I think our caseload is a lot higher than we anticipated, and we're glad to help as many people as we can. But yeah, it's just adjusting to COVID and the limited resources has been a struggle for sure. But we're glad that we're able to help any way that we can.
Amazing. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that. And it looks like you've got a Northwest Compass and Kenneth Young is Dan and Monica. So you may have Ted message her and try to find ways to connect these two wonderful organizations to the group that's forming in Elk Grove. Next, I want to pose a question to Michael and Sarah. How has COVID-19 impacted your work and the need for connecting youth with housing resources?
I mean, we kind of covered this a little bit with the previous questions, but again, it's honestly just made everything harder. Their resources are so much more limited. Our resources are even limited, like in terms of what to connect them to. So I would say really in the time of when they're in system navigation, so while we're trying to work with them to connect them to something more stable, finding like any sort of like temporary shelter or stay or anything like that has been super, super hard. Like Ivy said, staying with friends or family is hard. Yeah, it might not be an option because they're concerned about exposure. Shelter stays are super limited. So I feel like that's the biggest impact. Even if we just needed those resources temporarily, sometimes they're just not even there at all right now.
I know that it is heartbreaking. I pray for the moment we're out of this pandemic, because it really has placed additional strains on the most disenfranchised aspects of our communities. And so, please don't hesitate to reach out to me in my office at the county to find ways that we can partner and help, not only help your programs, but make sure that we are doing something in the realm of shelters and helping increase accessibility. I'm going to go next to Marianne. Is there a plan right now to continue this program long term?
Absolutely. I think as long as there's a need, Kenneth Young Center would like to be, working on making that need less. We really, even within our program, I think we have these grand ideas. We really want to get some life skills training going, as Ivy talked about during her case management, explaining what case management is. Life skills are a big part of this. Most people think, oh, well, kids grow up knowing how to clean a house or how to cook dinner. But that's just not the case with everyone. If you've had unstable housing most of your life, some of those things that we think of as very basic just aren't there. So really wanting to get our life skills training going. That's hard during a pandemic too, because that's best done in person, face to face. So we'd also like to expand our pantry and clothing closet like we talked about, and really would like to partner with others in the community who are, wanting to help in any way. We're willing to talk and feel and, figure out how to collaborate.
That's fantastic. And I know that there are a number of resources that are being made available to youth. What are some of the resources that are the most often utilized to connect youth with, to help them during this time? I don't know if maybe Ardell, Ivy, anyone want to jump in on that question?
One great resource that I'd like to make everybody aware of is the Youth Job Center in Evanston. They have a website. They help youth with resume building, internships, interview prep, job skills training. So a lot of times, as a caseworker, you may run into somebody that wants to, be a mechanic. Some skills I just don't have, or connections I just don't have. With the Youth Job Center, they have a really huge team that helps our youth get more on track to the career they actually want to work in, instead of just the regular 9 to 5. So that's one resource that I can think of off the top of my head.
Fantastic. Anyone else want to have any additional resources that you like to suggest?
Also, the Trevor Project, LGBTQ plus Trevor Project, they have crisis intervention, suicide prevention for the LGBTQ youth under the age of 25.
Amazing. And I think Sonia wanted to jump in too.
That's something that Adele already touched on. It's definitely, because there is so many places that are not available for services, it's extremely important for us to provide the youth as many resources as possible. And it's obviously we have a food pantry and clothing closet and hygiene supplies and everything else, but it's the personal connection is something that it's definitely it's extremely important, especially those times. And then sometimes it's just giving them a 24-hour crisis line number, or a connection to some of the resources that they can access online or virtual. And it's just being able to text my staff any time of the day just to say, it's obviously it's extra work on everybody that is part of the group, but it really makes a difference. And it's I cannot even how many times it's Ivy's leaving at night on Saturday to go because their car was towed, and if stay until Monday, it's another $200 that they have to come up with. It's having this constant connection and almost unconditional support all the time is extremely, extremely important.
Of course. I recognize there's a divergence in the suburbs in terms of whether or not schools are in person or if they're virtual. I remember as a youth, knowing individuals who were couch surfing, who, had been kicked out of their homes and who are having issues like that. Is there any outreach to schools? How do we get information with people who, may be, offering their couch to someone? How do we make sure and expand our outreach so that, the greater public knows of what resources are available and how to connect them with organizations like Kenneth Young and Northwest Compass? Does anyone want to jump in on that?
Yeah, so we're actually, we have made some connections that go along with what you're saying, and we're still actively working on it. So having these types of conversations is the most important thing. Like, no one's going to be able to access services or be able to tell someone, oh, I think so-and-so might be able to help you, if they have no idea who we are. So talking to like law enforcement officials, teachers and school faculty, which we have done. We do have good relationships with some of the local schools and police officers. Even like forest preserve workers, we had a meeting with them a couple weeks ago in one of our outreach meetings, because they'll see a lot of folks sleeping outside in the forests. And then even like putting flyers up places, at a coffee shop, at the library, just with like a little contact tab to pull off, like, are you seeking services, or like just something to catch someone's eye and get the word out, make people more aware. It's really important.
That's spot on.
I'd like to just add real quick that making sure that people know that youth homelessness doesn't always look like what we think of as homelessness. Youth do a really good job of hiding the fact that they don't necessarily have a stable place to stay. Really educating people on the fact that if they're couch surfing, that is housing instability. If they're sleeping with grandma, but they know they can't stay with grandma forever, that's housing instability. So just making sure that we're educating the public and especially folks who really come in contact with youth frequently about what that might look like and how to recognize it.
No, that's exactly right. Amazing. Ardell, did you want to add anything to that? Sorry, I know you got frozen. All right, my bad. Okay, fantastic. The next question I have, Ivy, if you want to kick this one off, is there a way that supporters of housing stability can learn more and help share this program with their networks? What would you tell them to do? And please be like, give us money so we could help shoot it out to everyone, and please share it on all your social media and call everyone and tell us about it. But no, please let me hear your ideas.
Yeah, definitely. I think a huge part is we have our doors open. Our doors have always been open during the pandemic. So definitely come visit us. We can do meetings. We can give you flyers. We can give you more information about our services that we offer. So that's one thing, because we are a walk-in center. So you can come in. I think also being a part of our advisory board would be beneficial, to kind of learn like the ins and outs of what we're doing and what we need. I think overall, just the use of social media is really powerful, especially during COVID. In-person connections aren't as possible because of this. We have to do social distancing. We have to be smart about how we interact. So share our information. We have a Facebook. We're trying to get a Twitter and Instagram, up to date. But definitely share our Facebook. Keep in touch with us regarding that. And then come to our Facebook events, come to our fundraising events. Spread the word about what we do, and really just the awareness overall about youth who are experiencing homelessness, because it's widespread. Yes, we're in the northwest region of Cook County, and often when people think of homelessness, poverty, instability, they think of other places like Chicago or the southern suburbs. But instability in housing with youth happens everywhere, and it happens here, even in what would be considered to be affluent communities. So definitely, just because you don't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. Like Marianne said, like the youth are very smart about how they hide themselves for a good reason. It's a survival mechanism. They present themselves with clothing to be clean, and sometimes they wear brands, and because they're smart about it. They know that if they look vulnerable, people can prey on them. So definitely just come talk to us, come hang out with us, you know, get to know us.
I want Ivy to share something about like how sharing is very powerful and makes like a huge difference. Our program, obviously, it's like our youth program started a few years ago, but we didn't have any funding for housing. And whenever we got through the youth demonstration project, obviously we had some apartments available. And it's like the apartment, it's a blank canvas, has nothing in the apartment. We spread the word among our supporters that it's like we have 5 apartments and youth is coming with a backpack and they have nothing. And we have a local group of the hockey players, their family. I think that the kids from the co-op and their family, and obviously their like coaches and so forth, they took this to heart and they completely designed and furnish 3 of our apartments, and they're almost like a Hallmark picture. Everything was in our apartment. I mean, it's kind of not just furniture, but the refrigerator was full, and it's like a new bedding, new towels. It's like a even TV and games and like a ready-to-eat food, and I mean everything was a beautiful, beautiful experience, and it's like it was such a positive buzz in a community about like helping other. The kids from the hockey team, it's like never had to do anything for the community of such a scale, and it's like they were extremely involved and happy to do it. And the youth that we moved to those apartments was in tears, seeing it's like that somebody cares and kind of is able to provide something to them. That's why sometimes it's like you may think that something small does not make a difference, but it's not really true. It's like showing someone that there is somebody in a community that may never see you and don't know even your name, still is willing to help you, kind of restores our helping humanity in general.
No, I appreciate you for sharing that, and it's always a great experience when you're able to give back, but then also seeing what a true impact it actually has on individuals who really need those resources. That is amazing. And me and Sonia, we've taken part in 2 point in time counts, and I know that when I speak to folk out here in the northwest suburbs, often they don't believe that we have an unstably housed population out here, but it's there, and we saw it firsthand, and those memories live on with me, and I will always try to make myself available to be an ally in helping make a difference and ensure that everyone has a place to lay their head at night. Now, I know that we are getting close to the end of the hour. Sonia, do you want to start off with just some last words, and then we'll go around the horn again?
Yes, it's like a thank you so much, Commissioner, for giving us this opportunity to share. I mean, it's kind of our program, and it's like everything that we do. We definitely need the community support. We're in this together. We appreciate any help and assistance that we can get. I keep saying this again and again. It's like maybe the homeless youth is just like 20% of the total population. For sure, they're 100% of our future. We have responsibility to help them to kind of go through life challenges and achieve their full potential. And it's not just like something that it's a good thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And I hope that everyone understands that it's like you can help in a very small way or in a big way. Just please get involved.
Amazing. No, that's a great message. And Ivy, any last thoughts?
Yeah, and just to jump in, honestly, just to really spread awareness about this issue, talk to friends, family members, community members about what's going on in our suburbs, because, with community connections, we can definitely overcome adversity. And I think any type of help is appreciated, small or big. It could be in goods. It could be in just, talking about it. It could be in monetary value. It really doesn't matter as long as, we're working together as a team, as a community to combat youth who are experiencing homelessness. I think we can definitely do it. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And next I'll go over to Sarah and Michael. Any last thoughts for our viewers?
Yeah, I mean, thank you again for letting us have this conversation and giving us a voice. I agree with what Ivy and Sonia said. Continuing to have these conversations is really important. And making sure that we don't downplay the numbers of youth that are experiencing homelessness in the suburbs just because we don't see it. Because like we said, it happens more than you know. And, you know, we've met some super inspiring, strong, resilient people along the way, and they deserve to be supported and have a chance to, you know, achieve all their dreams that they want. And we all need to do our part in supporting them. Thank you.
Amazing. Michael, do you have any last thoughts you want to share?
Just say that you're one of them. Yeah.
Yes. So actually, at this point, before I was in their program, and now I have the opportunity to give back as a system navigator, helping the youth along the way throughout the whole process. So it's a really good feeling to have, to not see on the other side of it. So it's very rewarding.
Thank you so very much for sharing that. I'm so happy that these programs made a difference, and now you're helping lead the way to help those in need, and that's fantastic. Northwest Compass is a great organization. Kenneth Young is fantastic, and I don't know if we have Ardell back. Marianne, and any last thoughts that you would like to share? Oh,
Sure.
I think we could hear.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I'd just like to thank everybody for viewing in. Thank you, Commissioner, for having us. Like we said earlier, we are still at Kenneth Young trying to develop a food pantry and a clothing closet. So any donations will be welcome. Please feel free to email me at ardellc@kennethyoung.org if you are able and willing to give. And thank you all for helping us with our ultimate goal, which is trying to eliminate youth homelessness one person at a time.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do. And thank you for being here today. And Marianne, last but certainly not least, let's help end this off in a positive light. What are your thoughts?
I would just like to echo the thanks. Thanks to you, Commissioner. Thank you to the viewers. And just like everyone else said, you know, talk to people about this. Make people aware that this is going on. You never know who you're talking to and what resources they may be able to tap into. So definitely start the conversation and keep it going.
I couldn't agree more. Thank you all. Thank you to Kenneth Young. Thank you to Northwest Compass. Again, for all of our viewers, please get involved. Even if it's donating some food for a food pantry, you know, donating a few dollars to, you know, help these incredible programs, and, you know, definitely sharing this information with your networks to make sure that, you know, anyone dealing with unstable housing doesn't have to deal with it for too long, because then they're connected to the resources that will make the biggest impact. Again, thank you all so very much for taking the time for joining me today. And everyone out there viewing us, please keep safe and be healthy.